you?
Good morning. I'm doing good.
Good. So thank you for joining me today to discuss Alex's academics. Today I'm just going to take you through a test that Alex took a few weeks ago. Do you remember when I asked y'all to give him a good breakfast for the week and to make sure he's ready for class?
Oh, yes. I remember doing that, yes.
Yeah.
He had a good breakfast, and we try to tell him that not to stress out or do any or overthink stuff.
Yeah,
today,
for sure.
so.
That's good. Yeah, and that was for this test that we're going to talk about today. And this test is actually called the Comprehensive Test of Achievement right here. And so it's not, at first, just let you know, it's not like an aptitude test or an IQ test or anything like that. It just kind of measures the progress Alex has made up until this point in the different content areas. So it's kind of just a little snapshot of how he's doing in school so far. And the top part here is just some basic information about the test itself. So you have my name right here, the school, the district, Alex's first and last name, his grade, the test date, and it says March 2018, and that's because we kind of took the test over many days, and so it was just in the month of March. His student ID number right here, which is just to kind of keep his confidentiality, and also so you can look online and look up his scores and stuff like that. And then on here, there's two forms. He had Form A. There's two forms just to make sure that, he can look over and see what another kid's writing on his paper or anything like that. But yeah, so.
Okay,
yeah.
That's good information to know. But are these tests timed? Because I know that my child is fairly good in most areas, but he sometimes needs to know the time to pace himself correctly without overwhelming himself. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'm the same way too. And I understand your concerns because of that. And we did make accommodations where we kind of just told them every 40 minutes how much time they had left, so they could kind of pace themselves accordingly.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. Thank you for doing so.
Yeah, of course. That's a lot of a concern that a lot of other parents have too. Well, let's look back at the score sheet, and you'll see there's two main boxes right here and down here.
Okay.
The top one is going to be norm referenced information, and this means that in this part we're comparing Alex to a norm group. Have you ever heard of a norm group before?
No, I've never heard of that.
Okay, so a norm group is, a norm group is a group of 1,000 diverse students who from across the nation that take the test before it's released, so that we have a set of scores to compare Alex's scores to.
Oh, okay.
And this bottom part is the criterion reference information, and let's see, this information we can look over here. This information talks about how he does in specific content areas.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing in there. And at that point, he's not being compared to any other people or anything like that.
Okay.
So does that make sense to you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. So let's go back and focus on the norm reference information to start with. So this row right here shows the different subsets of the test. Are there any of this from this list that you have any questions about?
No, they seem familiar to me.
Okay, good. So everything on this list from total reading down to spelling is called the basic battery, because that includes reading, writing, math, that kind of stuff. And then the complete battery is all the scores that include social studies and science. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, okay.
All right. So then let's pick one of these subsets to go over. Do you have a specific one that you want me to look at?
Let's go over to the reading comprehension one, because I know that we read at home, but I want to know if he actually is using those skills we learned at home.
Yeah, if he's understanding it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's great that you read with him at home, first off. And so if you look at reading right here, we see the first column says number of items, so that's literally just the number of questions that are on the test. And then the raw score is the number that he got correct out of the total questions of that section. So let's see. You can see how what numbers he answered correctly on the test. And then we have the national percentile score, which is right here.
What? He got a 68% on the test? Does that mean he failed?
No, it doesn't mean he failed actually. So that's not the number of things that he got correct, that's just his percentile. So he scored in the 68th percentile, and that means that he scored higher than 68% of the students in the norm group. And let's actually look at the bell curve to maybe explain it better. Let's see. This might help it make more understandable. So if you look the mean was 50, the 50th percentile, so Alex scored above the mean because he scored 68 right here, 68 percentile. And then going back to the first page, you can see the percentile bands for reading comprehension. So we can see the percentile in the 60th comparison to the mean of the 50. So there's like the mean and there's the comparison. There's like a little line going through this part right here to kind of just show you the standard error of measurement. And that means, you can see up here where it says plus or minus 3 to 4. So that means like if Alex were to take the test over and over again, he would probably score between 3 to 4 scores higher or lower than what he scored, say the 60th percentile. So that means that he would score between the 64th and 72nd percentile due to just like the standard error of membership, because every test has like a little bit of some sort of error. But I mean, that was a lot of information. So here's like a handout over here that you can kind of take with you that explains everything in case you have any questions, like when you get home and you're like, what the heck did I talk about?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so does everything make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So next we're going to go on to the scaled score. And scale scores are good to look at because they kind of give us like a standard unit that we can compare the test scores to. And so I kind of like to compare it to like if you have a problem with, like feet, inches, and meters, and you kind of have to convert it to one of those in order to know how to compare them. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So if you look at the bell curve, the scaled score, it's the ratio, or like what you can get is from 0 to 900, and so you can see that Alex has scored 548, and so and the average was 500, so he was above the average, the 500 average of the norm group.
Okay, so he did well on the comprehension
Yeah,
section.
he did really well. Are there any other subtests that you want me to look at?
Yes, can we look at the mathematics score? I know he can sometimes get frustrated with math.
Yeah, of course. So Alex actually got a 496 total mathematics scaled score. So that is right here on the bell curve. So if you see, it was just slightly below the average score of 500, but not by that much. And we'll be able to look at like the breakdown of each kind of math concept when we look at the criterion reference information. Do you have any other questions?
So what we just went over is just Alex compared to other students who took the test.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't about how just Alex did solely on the test.
Yeah, so this part that we just went over was how we're comparing him to like the norm group, but the second part right here is what we're going to be, he's not going to be compared to anybody anymore. So does that make sense?
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
So now let's move on to the criterion reference information section, and that kind of just displays like how he's doing in each specific skill in school. So here we have, let's see, like word analysis. Let's see, we have like the word analysis, structural analysis, vowels. That's like all these like different subtests like we kind of had above. And we're gonna see, this helps me like understand like where Alex is strong and see if he needs to make accommodations to like my instruction to strengthen like his scores in the future. And before I move on, do you have any questions about like a certain skill area or anything like that?
Yes, I can see that on the sheet he did well on the structural analysis skill.
Do you want me to go over that one? Yeah, so he scored really, really well on that skill, which means that he can correctly use words to form sentences, such as like nouns or adjectives in the proper context. So that's really good, and he scored super well on that. I'm really proud of him.
Okay, that makes sense. So what are these numbers on the columns named RS and NP? What does that signify?
So RS is the raw score that tells up the number of questions, like the total number of questions, kind of like we had above. It's just like represented in a different way. And then the NP means the number of possible, and then the raw score is how many he got right. So here we have like a work sample that he did in class actually. It was for we look at that structural analysis, we see that he like got a 10 out of 10, and so I have this work sample, and you can see that the whole thing was about persuading your parent to get a pet for you, which he really loved, and you can see that he wrote like a full page paper with interesting reasons, and his sentence structure was outstanding.
Okay, that's great. That's good to hear too, because I do read with him every night, making sure he knows how these sentences are supposed to look like and sound like.
Yeah, so your dedication has paid off. He's definitely doing well with that. Yeah.
Thank you. We try to help as much as possible. So as I look more into the assessment sheet, I noticed that he has a low score in social studies. What can I do to help him with that then?
Yeah, so in the social studies section, he was only given in the history area, like it was only 6 questions. So this makes scoring in the medium and high groups harder because the student would need to either get like all of them right to be like in high or like all of them wrong to be in the low. And so we can see that he scored 4 out of 6 in this area, which is not, like, I don't view that as a bad thing because I know that Alex does pretty well with the overall content of social studies in class, and he enjoys to like look back at past historical figures and communicate facts about them. So I actually have a sample here too that shows like a drawing he did just during History Week by like followed by like a summary with like different facts and stuff, the historical figures, and he did really well with like knowing the facts, like recognizing them, and also adding in like good like sentence structure, like nouns and adjectives and stuff like that. So he did really well with this. I encourage you to read that later.
That's a relief because I know that he likes learning about famous historical figures and admires them.
Yeah. So I'm really like glad that you asked that question because I don't want you to ever leave like feeling like doubtful about him or anything like that. It's all kind of confusing. So is there anything else you'd want to ask me?
Yes. I see he got a 6 out of 11 on the constant phonemic analysis part. What is that?
So that's like your beginning blends, like sh and like the. And I noticed like when he's reading like out loud or like with a group or anything like that in class, he tries to sound out the C and the H, for example. So like if he's saying chair, it's like a hair, and so like that's like he's not putting those two like letters together, the two sounds together. In order to help with this at school, I've been like making him, or not making him, I'm like having him play like a game that kind of goes over those sounds, and I can actually send it home with you if you want me to. He can do it at home. And do you have any other questions?
No, you've answered my questions. I just want to let you know that I'll do my part at home, and I'll continue reading with him every night so that it helps with his reading skills and encourage him to talk about history.
Yeah, of course. He loves doing that. And so that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. I'm super excited. I had like a good conversation. And please let me know if there's anything you need. I can, anything about like these test scores if you just go home and forget everything. Or if you want to just talk about his progress or anything like that. So yeah, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.